Greetings, Stock Talk listeners, and welcome. We're doing a focused deep dive today. Specifically, we're digging into Trip.com Group's Q1 2025 financial results.
Right, the ones that just came out May 19th.
Exactly. Pulled straight from their earnings release. And hey, if you find this valuable, do us a favor. A quick subscribe, like, and share really helps us out.
Definitely helps bring more analysis like this.
Okay, then. Let's get into it. Time to unpack what really matters in this report.
Absolutely. And right off the bat, Trip.com Group's first quarter, it shows a pretty strong upward trend.
Yeah. What are we seeing?
We're seeing a 16% increase in net revenue year over year. That's RMB 13.8 billion.
Okay, 13.8 billion RMB, roughly US $1.9 billion.
About that, yeah. And what's interesting is why, the report points to resilient consumer demand and also favorable travel policies.
Right. Makes you wonder which specific policies are really moving the needle.
It does. And while their net income, the main number, held steady. RMB 4.3 billion, about US $596 million.
Stable? Okay.
If you look a bit deeper, their non-GAAP net income actually ticked up 3%.
Ah, okay. So excluding certain items.
Exactly. That reached RMB 4.2 billion, and their adjusted EBITDA, that also climbed to 5%, hitting RMB 4.2 billion as well.
So even with a stable bottom line, the sort of core operational profitability seems to be improving, gaining a bit of momentum.
That's how it looks. It suggests the underlying business is getting more efficient at generating profit.
Right. Even if maybe some one-off things kept the main net income figure flat.
Precisely. So are they managing costs better? Are certain revenue streams just getting more profitable? Good questions there.
Okay, let's shift gears. International. They're talking about robust growth.
And the numbers seem to back that up.
Overall reservations on their international OTA platforms jumped over 60% year over year.
60%? That's a significant leap.
It really is. Where do you think most of that growth is coming from, geographically?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The report gives the big number, 60%, but knowing which region are driving, that would tell us so much more about their global strategy. Is it Southeast Asia, Europe bouncing back? Hard to say from just this.
Fair point. But here's something maybe even more striking. Inbound travel bookings.
Travel into China.
Yeah. They saw a surge of around 100% year over year.
Wow. Doubled.
That really feels like China's properly reopening as a destination.
100% increase. That's huge. It has major ripple effects, not just for China's economy, but, global travel patterns.
How so?
Well, are airlines adding routes back? Are hotels ready? And for Trip.com, how are they specifically targeting this inbound market compared to, say, their local competitors?
Good points. And it's not just inbound. Outbound is strong, too.
Right, people leaving China.
Their outbound hotel and air ticket bookings actually exceeded 120% of pre-COVID levels.
Comparing back to Q1 2019.
Yeah, Q1 2019. So that pent-up demand we've all talked about is clearly being unleashed.
Exceeding pre-COVID levels. That says a lot about their users' priorities. Travel seems high on the list, despite, any global jitters.
Definitely. Are they prioritizing leisure over business, maybe? Or certain destinations?
Could be. The report doesn't break that down, but it's a strong overall indicator.
They also brought up market diversification and enhanced cross-border integration.
The standard strategic pillars.
Executive Chairman James Lang had a quote about their diversified market presence, helping them navigate global economic uncertainties.
And capture growth opportunities? Yeah, I saw that.
Beyond the statement, though, what does that diversification actually look like in practice? Any concrete examples?
Well, you'd look for things like new partnerships in different regions, maybe, or specific localization features in their app for, say, the European market versus the Asian market.
Or pushing into completely new countries.
Exactly. Things like that would give that statement more weight.
Okay, let's break down the business segments. Accommodation reservation. Big one.
Always is for them.
RMB 5.5 billion revenue.
Yeah.
And up 23% year over year.
23%. That's really solid. Driven by both domestic and international bookings, they said.
Yeah, so broad-based strength there. Seems like a real engine for them.
It really underscores their core function, right? Connecting travelers and places to stay.
Then there's transportation ticketing.
Right.
RMB 5.4 billion. Up 8% year over year.
Okay, 8%. Still growth, but noticeably more moderate than accommodation.
Yeah, any thoughts on why that might be?
Could be a few things. Maybe different recovery speeds for flights versus hotels, or maybe commission structures are different.
Or perhaps people are taking longer trips, focusing more on the stay than lots of short hops.
That's plausible too. Prioritizing accommodation spend.
Okay. Package tours. That came in at RMB 947 million, up 7%.
7%. Feels like it mirrors that sort of gradual return of group tourism we're seeing. Still cautious, perhaps.
What do you think is still holding that segment back a bit?
Probably confidence in group settings, Maybe lingering restrictions in some places, or just a preference now for more independent travel after the pandemic.
Makes sense. Then corporate travel. RMB 573 million. That's up 12% year over year.
Right, despite a seasonal dip from Q4.
So, businesses are starting to spend on travel again. Budgets loosening up.
It suggests that, yeah, more in-person activity picking up. But that sequential dip reminds us it's maybe not a straight line recovery. It could be bumpy.
Depends on the economy, company policies.
Exactly. Standard factors.
And finally, their others category. This one jumped quite a bit.
Yeah, what's in there again? Advertising, value-added services.
Right. It's a 33% increase, hitting RMB 1.4 billion.
33%. That's significant. Shows that diversification beyond just booking commissions is working.
Definitely. What specific services do you think are driving that? More ads on their platform, premium features. That's a really interesting one to watch. Is it advertisers paying more, or are travelers buying more add-ons like insurance or lounge access? Digging into what makes up that others growth, that tells you a lot about their longer-term strategy. Is it sustainable?
Good question. Okay, moving to strategy. They highlighted 3 areas. Customer-centric approach, global expansion strategy,
and product and service innovation. Sounds good, but how does that translate into action this quarter?
Well, you'd look for clues. For customer-centric, maybe new app features tailored to local markets, service improvements.
Okay. And for global expansion, new partnerships announced, market entries.
Exactly. And innovation. Maybe investments in AI for recommendations, better tech. CEO Jane Sun talked about meeting evolving traveler needs through that innovation and localization.
Right, tying it all together.
Pretty much.
Now, capital allocation, they did some share buybacks. 1.6 million ADS repurchased.
For about US $84 million.
What does that signal to investors usually?
Typically, it signals confidence. Management thinks the stock is maybe undervalued. It's also a way to return capital to shareholders, potentially boosting earnings per share.
And they're sitting on a lot of cash.
Oh, yeah. The cash balance is huge, RMB 92.9 billion.
Which is, what, US $12.8 billion?
Roughly, yes. That gives them enormous flexibility.
Flexibility for what, though? Acquisitions?
Yeah.
More expansion?
All of the above. Acquisitions, R&D, weathering downturns, investing in growth. It's a massive safety net and a war chest for opportunities.
They also ramped up spending in certain areas. Product development investment up 13%.
Steady increase.
But sales and marketing up
Yeah.
30% year over year. That's a big jump.
It is notable. 30% increase in marketing spend.
Is that just reacting to competition getting tougher? Or are they proactively trying to grab market share now while travel's bouncing back?
I suspect it's a mix. The travel space is competitive, especially now, so maybe they need to spend more to stand out.
But it could also be a strategic choice, right? Spend big now to capture users long term.
Absolutely. A land grab, potentially.
Huh.
But as we noted, that higher spending likely put a bit of pressure on their adjusted EBITDA margin this quarter. It's always a balancing act.
Right. Okay, quickly on risks and opportunities. Opportunities seem clear. International travel keeps recovering. Emerging markets.
Yeah, pretty standard growth drivers for them.
And risks. Also fairly standard. Global economic uncertainty, competition heating up.
Exactly. The travel industry lives and dies by the global economy, and recovery always attracts competitors. How they manage those risks while chasing the opportunities. That's the key.
So let's try to wrap this deep dive up. Q1 2025 for Trip.com. Strong top-line growth, 16% revenue increase.
Definitely a key takeaway. And that booming international business really stands out, especially the inbound recovery to China.
Yeah, and accommodation reservations driving a lot of that growth.
Plus that significant growth in the others segment, showing some successful diversification.
But we also have to note the increased operating costs, particularly that jump in marketing spend.
True. Something to keep an eye on, how that impacts profitability going forward.
Still, that huge cash position gives them a lot of breathing room.
A very solid foundation. It provides that agility they need in such a, well, dynamic market.
Absolutely. Feels like Trip.com Group is pretty well positioned overall.
Poised to capitalize on this travel resurgence, yeah, thanks to that global footprint and their strategic moves.
Their focus on innovation expansion backed by that cash. They seem like a major player to watch.
For sure. Key player in how the whole travel industry evolves from here.
So as you think about these results, here's something to chew on. With that big marketing investment, what kind of innovative strategies will Trip.com need to use to actually guarantee a strong return on that spend, especially if economic headwinds pick up? How do they sustain this momentum?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? Especially for anyone following the travel sector.
Indeed. Well, if you found this deep dive helpful for understanding the travel industry and the related financial markets, please do subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us keep these going.